we define as those needing skilled labor. And so I would say inverter maintenance, transformer maintenance. Those need to be done depending on the activity, typically once a year, maybe twice a year. You can see now the trackers moving. Or some of them. They don't all move at the same time. This is important because they have different, they have independent controls. So they are, they have an algorithm that knows exactly where they're positioned with GPS coordinates and where the sun is based on.
Take care of your head.
Yeah. So every couple of minutes they will move, and again they will move at different moments because each tracker has a different geographical position, and the sun is not exactly looking at them the same way. So they move independently. So that's a loss of efficiency, I think.
Yeah,
let it go up.
You owe them half a penny.
Exactly.
It's funny, it doesn't have any power now. It's me.
Exactly. So that's the second type of O&M activity, specialized labor for transformers, inverters, etc., substation, of course. The third one is the remote monitoring, reports, and services, which we do through the ABB automation system. So you can have people in the office looking at the control system, looking exactly what's the angle of each of these trackers, what's happening at each inverter, what's happening at each combiner box. You gather that information, send it to the office, and you can do reports, analysis. You can say, oh, it looks like it's not generating as much as I thought. Maybe there's more dust than I thought, and I need to go and wash again. So you can do a lot of remote monitoring, and that's really useful and really helpful.
Is there a comparable solar park like this in Nevada, or is that the only one?
No, there are more.
There are more?
Yeah, there's about 250 megawatts or so in Nevada. I would
250
say
what?
megawatts. So this is 20. What you see here is 25 megawatts DC, 20 megawatts AC. In Nevada, there's about 250 megawatts installed. So there's a little bit of everything. There's small plants, there's big plants. This would be a very good representation of a typical project in the Southwest U.S. One of the reasons being is one of the areas that are most complicated when developing a project is the interconnection agreement. So in order to connect to the grid, which you can see probably the transmission line at the end, you need to apply for permits, you need to work with the utility, you need to do feasibility studies. It's really complicated because you're going to have an impact on their grid in a way. So the process that you need to follow if you're connecting less than 20 megawatts or more than 20 megawatts is different. So less than 20 megawatts is called small generator. More than 20 megawatts is called large generator. And that was thought of originally as for like the big power stations. If you're doing a combined cycle or if you're doing a coal-fired power plant, you're always going to be a big generator. So small generators were thought of as smaller plants that would not have an impact on the grid. The process is much simpler. So that's why you see a lot of projects in the Southwest U.S. at the 20 megawatt level. So this is a really good representation. There's a lot of projects this size.
Do you have, from the top of your head, the number, the share that solar energy is delivering to the grid in Nevada or in the southwest of the United States?
I do not. I can look it up. I do have the information, so I can look it up in my computer later. Okay, I do not have it in my head.
Who are the investors at this plant and generally in solar in the U.S.?
So this particular plant is one that was initially developed by a developer called FRB, Photovoltaic Renewable Ventures. It's a pretty well-known developer out of Spain. Then they sold the U.S. company to San Edison. And so we worked with FRB initially, and then we continued to work with San Edison. Then San Edison actually hired ABB to build the project, but actually was the project owner. And then after it had been built, they sold it to Southern Company. Southern Company is the biggest utility in the southeast U.S., in the Georgia, Atlanta area. They're a huge company. They have a lot of generation throughout the country, and they have an arm that specializes in investing in solar and renewables. So they ended up buying this project from Sun Edison. I believe they might have some agreements still going on, but they ended up buying out, which is why you see the Southern Company sign at the entrance. If you didn't see it, you can see it later on. This is right now a Southern Company asset.
How much was the total investment in this whole power plant?
So I can't comment on that because that involves ABB scope. It involves part on the developer side, like financing, permitting, and things that are really related to development, and also equipment that, like the modules that were not supplied by ABB. They were.
Yeah, but I mean, those who paid for the project at the end of the day, with everything. How much would it cost to reproduce exactly the same plant 2 kilometers far from here?
Well, that's a different question because prices, as Maxine has been explaining, have been going down repeatedly. So it's not things have changed, but so I can't comment on what it took overall to build this project. If you wanted to build something like this today in the U.S., something like that, it would be less than $50 million, but
15,
more
50. Okay.
Yeah, but more than 40. So between 40 and $50 million, depending on a number of factors. So it's a significant investment.
So this is the Apex Solar Power Plant in Nevada.
Or 25 years. Typically, it's 20 years. In this case, the developer of the project signed a power purchase agreement with Nevada Energy, and so Nevada Energy owns that line, and they own the utility in the state. They're buying power from this power plant for the next 20 years.
Okay. Yeah.
That's one part of the process. In parallel, you need to work with the grid operator, who sometimes, depending on the state, is the same utility or a different grid operator, on the interconnection agreement, because there might not be capacity on that line there, or they might be expanding that capacity, or they might be having a coal-fired power plant of 500 megawatts coming online, down the road, and so, there's a lot of impacts from a technical perspective on the grid. So you need to work with the grid operator there and get that interconnection agreement done. Once you get those two, you're moving on to the next stage, which is financing and finding a good company to build the project. Financing is really important because virtually nobody puts those millions of dollars up front. They put maybe 10, 20, 30% of their own equity, but then they go finance the rest in the banking community. And so those bankers really, what they're looking for is a guaranteed return on their money, and so they want someone that will be around, someone that can respond to anything that could go wrong at some point in time. And that's where bankability comes into place, and Maxine was talking about that this morning. So you get these three pieces: power purchase agreement, interconnection. Obviously, you need the land. You work with the local authorities on the permitting for the land. In this case, I was talking about how this is an area where you have some protected species that we had to look for and take out, so we wouldn't damage them. So you put all those pieces together, and then you can go to the financing community and say, I need so many $1 million. I'm putting so much of my own money.
What are your jobs?
Service techs.
Service technicians?
Yes.
Yeah. How long you been working here?
Going on for about a year. 5 years for me.
Is this thing moving down right now, right behind
Yes.
you?
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. So, how long you said?
5 years.
5 years?
Well, 6 years.
6 years. Wow.
At another plant.
Okay. Same company or?
No, same company now. Yes.
Okay. And you?
And me, myself, I'm a wireman by trade. About 13 years experience here. Been a year with SunEd.
Okay.
So,
all right.
definitely good experience.
So that's who you're working with right now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks a lot.